Welcome, everybody. This is AJ, Street Notes and Commentary. Giving you that old school radio talk show type of vibe with a little podcast on the side. Brought to you by LCSA Life and Community Solutions Association, Incorporated. Changing and filling the void. Helping the most vulnerable people in our communities out here in these streets. If you want to support them, please visit them over there on Life and Community Solutions Association.org or changeandfillthevoid.services. Buy a t-shirt or a cup. I'm sure they would appreciate it. Thank you so much. I have a good one for you again today. They say that there was nothing wrong with being a slave. Oh boy. We'll talk about it when I return. Again, you're listening to AJ's Street Notes and Commentary. I'll be right back. I am looking for talent. If you could sing, you have your own songs, and you want me to play them on here on this podcast, please reach me at LCSA change at fillthevoid.info. Again, that's LCSA change at fillthevoid.info. Thank you. Join me. I am going to be dropping another episode. You cannot marry my underage daughter. There's a lot going on behind the scenes that we don't know about as regards to the policies and the procedures that these individuals are trying to implement into this country behind the back door. You need to wake up and realize that it's happening on the other side while you're marching in the streets, which is great and wonderful. But while other things are silent and other things are loud, they are in secret rooms and meeting areas making plans possibly for your daughter's future. We need to talk about it. Join me as I drop another episode, You Will Not Marry My Underage Daughter. Join me here on AJ's Street Notes and Commentary. Thank you. All right, everybody. I am back to have this discussion that some folks are saying that slavery was not bad at all. In fact, we should be thankful because remember, I wasn't a slave. We'll talk about it. I'll be right back. Y'all enjoy the music until I return, okay? I'll be right back. All right, everybody. Oh, boy. Whew. I tell you, it's getting a little bit disturbing out here as regards to how people are thinking about history and how they're really showing their true colors or how they feel about people that look like me. Now, I was minding my own business as I often do because I try to stay away from these type of conversations, especially when it has to do with politics. I did politics for almost 2 years. All right. And I was just about burned out. And I decided that I was going to get away from that. No, I'm not going to talk about it. I'm not going to talk about what this administration is doing. I'm not going to talk about nothing that's going on in these streets. I'm going to start talking about families. I'm going to start talking about the community overall and the things that we need and how we need to address this, that, and all the other. But for some odd reason, people out here just won't let me be. Because of the craziness that they do and the things that they say. And I just cannot avoid these games that corrupt people are deciding to play. So I have to show up every single time. And I know that there's a lot of other folks out there like me who deal with politics on an everyday basis, 7 days a week. And I used to do the same thing. But God, I can't stay silent because I can't even sleep properly with the shenanigans. We got to counter the craziness that they're saying. Misinformation and propaganda, conspiracy. We cannot let people just say those things without responding to what they're saying. Now, Caucasians, specifically certain types of YT men, and have decided that it's okay to say there's nothing wrong with slavery. In fact, it was a benefit. But you know, the very ones that are touting this are the very ones that never had to live it, because it wasn't their descendants who were slaves. Their descendants were their owners. And why am I not surprised? Why should we be surprised that there are certain young Caucasian and out here touting these lies about that was nothing wrong with slavery, when in fact none of them have been enslaved, neither have their descendants been enslaved, nor have their ancestors been enslaved on the level that my people, that people that look like me, was in slavery. But they forget it wasn't so much about the bondage. It wasn't so much about, having people work in the field. It was about all this other stuff that they did behind the scenes. Everybody want to focus on the labor, but it's bigger than just the labor. More happened than just us picking cotton, They were tearing up families. Okay, they were A-being people, unaliving individuals, creating strange fruit throughout this country, chasing folks down like they were animals, taking their babies and feeding them to crocodiles, that kind of stuff. So understand that whenever you talk about there was nothing wrong with slavery, what you're saying, there was nothing wrong with all the other stuff that was done to people that look like me either. That all that stuff was fine, because see, people want you to believe that slavery was nothing more than us working for free. That our ancestors and our people was working for free. They want you to just focus on that, but they don't want you to focus on the bigger picture of the experiments that were done on people that look like me throughout the country. Cookbooks that were created on how they can make our bodies delicacies to eat. They don't want to talk about how our skin was taken and treated and made like leather to put on chairs and furniture and sofas and things like that. How they took pictures and images of us being strange fruit dangling from, unfamiliar dark spaces and places where trees reside. They don't want you to focus on all of that as they continue to tout. There was nothing wrong with slavery. There was nothing wrong with being a slave. It's easy for individuals who were the perpetrators to make those statements. Why are we surprised that perpetrators are saying these things? People of hate are saying these things. People who know what it feels like to put on a dirty sheet says these things. People that understand the ideal and the meaning of misplaced burning flags says these things. People who have decided that they will embrace corruption and evil things happening throughout the world as part of their identity are the individuals that says these things. So I'm not surprised when I hear it. It doesn't throw me off. It just helps me prepare because I know what's coming. And some folks that eat that food that they're being fed are eating it because they agree with it, and they too are part of the problem. Anybody with common sense that have a rational way of thinking would know that there was nothing good about slavery in America. There was nothing good about it. And anybody that embraces that and celebrates that, they're only saying that I'm a part of that conversation. I am no longer on the outside listening, trying to get an understanding. I'm now a part of the conversation if you agree with it. If you allow somebody to manipulate you in that way, to have you to think that slavery was okay and they did it easily without any questions. Or why do they feel that way? And even their rationale don't even make sense because they don't tell the full story. They don't tell the full truth. They give you bits and pieces, and they rewrote things that are in our history as they've rewritten everything throughout history. Anything that has to do with religion and even the history of this country have been rewritten to fit the narrative of those perpetrators who represent colonization and represents hate. And so now they got their youth building up podcasts all over the place, starting podcast networks and all over the place and just spreading the propaganda. You know why they're doing that? Because unfortunately, they know that there are some people in this country that will not take the time to fact check the things that they say. And so they keep doing it because they're not speaking to everybody when they make these statements. They're not speaking to everybody. Think about it for a moment, folks. They're not speaking to people that know how to think for themselves, that have some common sense, have some intelligence. They're not speaking to individuals like that. They're not speaking to educated folks. They're not speaking to people who may have a high school diploma or may even have a GED, but their common sense and their intellect foresee anything that represents that of a need of a degree. They're just born that way because they're born with a natural gift of knowing better, and they seek to do better. They're not speaking to folks like that. They're speaking to people in their dark rooms, dark spaces, who prefer hating other people, that like hating other people, that feel the need to blame everybody else for their woes, their problems, the things that they don't have in their lives. It's somebody else's fault. As they entertain themselves with things that keeps them back. But rather than focus on the things that keeps them back, which is in their own house, they want to focus outside the house and blame everybody else for the problem. And so it's easy to develop this attitude of hate for people that you don't know nothing about because you don't even care to think anything about education because most of them don't like education. You see, the ones that embrace that kind of nonsense, they have a problem with educated folks. They have a problem with folks with common sense. They have a problem with people that went back and got their GED. They have a problem with folks that graduated and got their high school diploma. They just believe that all they're supposed to do is live a life of color. Live by race and by color. The tone of one's skin is what makes them powerful and give them the things that they're supposed to have. The true DEI is racism. The true DEI is hate. That's DEI. Because anybody that can gain and win and accomplish based on the color of their skin is a perfect example of DEI. And it has nothing to do with black. It has nothing to do with African American. It has nothing to do with natives, indigenous people. It has nothing to do with brown people, black people, red people. It has nothing to do with any of that. Because colonization represents the first thought and ideal of such a DEI. Though the definition of DEI has been changed by the very people who have lived in a different type of DEI that gives them rights simply because of the color of their skin. And now they want to say that slavery was a good thing. I just hope that people would just use their common sense because we can't stop these conversations and we'll never stop these people from spinning these lies and rewriting history. But you see, it's really not about them. It's about you. What do you know? Because as long as you know the truth, it doesn't matter what somebody else says. Because their lie can never be planted into your hearts and minds. And their seed will never flourish because you have already gotten the right seed that has been planted long before they showed up.